Stop. Right now. Before you scroll past this video, I need you to answer one question. Which country do you think is secretly arming Israel right now, while publicly pretending it has nothing to do with the conflict? Russia? No. China? No. Some small European nation hiding in the shadows? Wrong again. The answer is a country with 1.4 billion people. A country that publicly stands with Palestine in every UN vote. A country whose streets filled with protesters demanding justice for Gaza. A country that has never once officially admitted what it is doing. And yet, cargo planes have been tracked, shipping routes have been exposed, weapons fragments have been photographed, with the words "Made in India" written right on them, inside Gaza. The unexpected country is India. And this is the story nobody in mainstream media wants to tell you completely. India, the world's largest democracy, the country that calls itself a friend of Palestine, the country that abstains from UN votes to avoid taking sides, that very same country has been quietly, secretly, and massively arming Israel while the world wasn't watching. Drones built in Hyderabad, India, killing people in Gaza, missiles assembled in Indian factories, fired in the Middle East. A $2.3 billion arms deal so classified that even Israel's own defense ministry refused to comment on it. Today, we expose all of it. Every deal, every flight, every weapon, every secret. And if you want more hidden stories that mainstream media buries, you are watching Dust Glory. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what comes next will shock you. Before we go deeper, let's talk about what the world thinks it knows. When most Americans think about who supplies weapons to Israel, they think of the obvious answer, the United States. And they're right. The U.S. is by far the largest arms supplier, accounting for roughly 69% of Israel's major conventional arms imports between 2019 and 2023. Germany comes second, about 30% of Israel's arms imports in that same period. And then there's the rest of the world, which supposedly accounts for almost nothing. That is the official story. That is what governments want you to believe. But here's what they don't tell you. Israel's arms import figures only count major conventional weapons, the big stuff that's hard to hide. What about drones, components, software, ammunition, surveillance technology? Those are traded in the shadows, and the shadows are where India operates. India publicly abstains from UN votes condemning Israel. India publicly calls for a two-state solution. India's streets have seen massive pro-Palestine protests, and yet, behind all of that, India's defense companies are doing billions of dollars in business with Israel. The gap between India's public statements and its private actions is the story of this video. To understand how deep this relationship goes, we have to go back to the beginning. India and Israel formally established diplomatic relations in 1992. But the real shift happened in 2017, when Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi became the first ever Indian Prime Minister to visit Israel. Modi and then Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu were photographed walking on a beach in Tel Aviv, laughing, arms around each other. This was not two strangers meeting. This was two leaders who had been building something quietly for years, finally showing the world their friendship. And what they built was, primarily, an arms relationship. By 2023, India had become the single largest foreign customer of Israel Aerospace Industries, Israel's biggest defense company. India accounted for a full quarter of IAI's entire export revenue. Not 5%, not 10%, 25%. This is not a small relationship. This is not casual business. This is a strategic partnership that runs deeper than almost any defense relationship in the world, hidden behind decades of carefully crafted public neutrality. India buys Israeli drones, Israeli radar systems, Israeli missiles, Israeli cyber warfare technology, and Israel, in return, builds manufacturing plants inside India, training Indian engineers to produce weapons that can be sent right back when needed. It is the perfect circular arrangement. and the world had almost no idea it was happening. Now let's talk about the factory that no one wants you to know about. In Hyderabad, India, there's a facility called Adani Elbit Advanced Systems India. It is a joint venture between two giants, India's Adani Group, run by billionaire Gautam Adani, one of Modi's closest business allies, and Elbit Systems, one of Israel's three largest defense companies. What does this factory make? The Hermes 900, one of Israel's most advanced surveillance and attack drones. By February 2024, this Hyderabad facility had already produced over 20 Hermes 900 drones and delivered them to Israel. Not sold them on the open market, delivered them directly to Israel. During an active war, the Hermes 900 is not a toy. It can fly for over 36 hours without landing. It carries missiles. It carries surveillance systems capable of watching a single person from 30,000 feet in the air. It has been described as Israel's eye in the sky and its hand of death from above. But the factory doesn't only make Hermes drones. It also supplies counter-drone systems, what the company markets as hunting drones, systems designed to find and destroy enemy UAVs. And when protesters showed up outside the Hyderabad factory in October 2024, demanding it stop supplying weapons to Israel, Indian police arrested the protesters, not shut down the factory, arrested the people protesting against it. That tells you everything you need to know about how seriously the Indian government takes this partnership. Here is where it gets truly extraordinary. In March 2023, Israel's own newspaper, Haaretz, published a bombshell article. The title? 92 flights from Israeli base reveal arms exports. Flight tracking data, publicly available to anyone with the right tools, showed that cargo planes were flying secret routes between Israeli airbases and locations in India and Azerbaijan. 92 flights, not one or two, not a dozen. 92 documented secret arms flights. And just weeks before Azerbaijan launched its devastating 24-hour military assault on Nagorno-Karabakh in September 2023, Azerbaijani military cargo planes were tracked repeatedly flying between a southern Israeli airbase and an airfield near the conflict zone. Armenia's own ambassador to Israel confirmed it. He said, "For us, it is a major concern that Israeli weapons have been firing at our people." But here's what ties India into this picture. Indian cargo vessels were also tracked. One vessel, the Borkum, left Chennai, India in April 2024 and circumnavigated the entire continent of Africa to avoid the Red Sea crisis, carrying what Al Jazeera reported were rockets and explosives destined for Israel. You can't hide everything. Planes have transponders, ships have tracking systems, and investigators were watching every single move. Now let's talk about the money, because the numbers are absolutely staggering. In 2024, while Israel was fighting a war in Gaza that drew global condemnation, Israel's arms exports reached an all-time historical record of $14.8 billion. That is a 13% increase from the previous year, and it represents roughly 10% of Israel's entire national export economy. Israel's own defense ministry said the quiet part out loud. They stated that the unprecedented operational achievements, meaning the weapons being tested in real combat in Gaza, have generated significant demand for Israeli defense systems among numerous countries. Let that sink in. Israel is using the Gaza war as a live demonstration of its weapons, and countries around the world are lining up to buy. Elbit Systems alone reported a 12% revenue increase and a record backlog of $25.2 billion in orders. Israel Aerospace Industries, with India as its largest customer, is operating at maximum capacity. This is the dark arithmetic of modern warfare. The more destruction Israel causes, the more countries want Israeli weapons technology, because they have now seen it work in real conditions, and India, positioned as a manufacturing partner, stands to profit enormously from every deal. War is very good for business. And now, the deal that started it all for us today. the one that even Israel's government refused to explain. In December 2025, Israeli financial newspaper Calculist reported on a $2.3 billion arms transaction carried out by Elbit Systems that Israel's own defense ministry and Elbit both refused to comment on. The newspaper said the deal involved an advanced strategic system being exported. They noted the awkward contradiction. Israel was approving the export of cutting-edge military technology, while simultaneously warning its allies that similar technology transfers could undermine Israel's military edge. Who was the buyer? The article would not say. Elbit refused to say. The defense ministry refused to say. But here's what we know. India was Elbit's largest single customer at the time. India and Israel had signed multiple classified defense agreements, and India had been publicly identified as the customer for Elbit's most advanced drone and surveillance systems. $2.3 billion. Classified. Strategic. Secret. Between two countries with a documented history of covert arms cooperation. You connect the dots. So, if you're watching this from America, why should you care about a secret arms deal between India and Israel? First, because your tax dollars fund Israel. The U.S. provides Israel with $3.8 billion per year in military aid, every single year. That money subsidizes Israel's defense budget, freeing up Israeli government funds to invest in arms exports and secret manufacturing deals with India. American taxpayers are, indirectly, part of this entire chain. Second, because this changes the global arms balance. India acquiring Israeli weapons technology at this scale makes India dramatically more powerful militarily. That changes the India-China balance, the India-Pakistan balance. Ripple effects spread across Asia, and Asia's stability directly affects American economic interests. Third, because this is about accountability. When Western countries impose arms restrictions on Israel, trying to limit weapons that might be misused, the India backchannel makes those restrictions largely meaningless. If components can flow through Indian factories with "Made in India" labels, Western sanctions and restrictions become much harder to enforce. The global arms trade is deliberately designed to be impossible to fully control, and the India-Israel partnership is one of the most sophisticated examples of that design in operation today. You might be asking, why India? Why would Israel choose India as its secret manufacturing partner? The answer is several reasons, each one more strategically significant than the last. Reason 1. Scale. India has a massive, highly educated engineering workforce. Israel is a country of just 9 million people. It cannot produce enough weapons domestically to meet skyrocketing global demand. India, with over 1 billion people, can. Reason 2. Cost. Manufacturing in India costs a fraction of manufacturing in Israel or Europe. By building production facilities in India, Israeli defense companies reduce costs while maintaining quality control, more profit, more weapons, faster production. Reason 3. Deniability. This is the most important reason. When a weapon says "Made in India," it gives Israel plausible deniability. Governments trying to restrict arms to Israel have a harder time tracking components that come through India. The supply chain becomes deliberately complicated, intentionally difficult to follow. Reason 4. India's own needs. India has its own military tensions, with Pakistan, with China. India wants advanced weapons technology. Israel provides it. The relationship is symbiotic. Each country gets what it needs from the other. And now, with rising India-Pakistan tensions in 2025, military analysts predict this arms relationship will only grow stronger. Because when nations feel threatened, they reach for their most trusted weapons partner. And for India, that partner is Israel. And now, the deal that started it all for us today. The one that even Israel's government refused to explain. In December 2025, Israeli financial newspaper Calculist reported on a $2.3 billion arms transaction carried out by Elbit Systems that Israel's own defense ministry and Elbit both refused to comment on. The newspaper said the deal involved an advanced strategic system being exported. They noted the awkward contradiction. Israel was approving the export of cutting-edge military technology, while simultaneously warning its allies that similar technology transfers could undermine Israel's military edge. Who was the buyer? The article would not say. Elbit refused to say. The Defense Ministry refused to say. But here is what we know. India was Elbit's largest single customer at the time. India and Israel had signed multiple classified defense agreements, and India had been publicly identified as the customer for Elbit's most advanced drone and surveillance systems, $2.3 billion, classified, strategic, secret, between two countries with a documented history of covert arms cooperation. You connect the dots. So, if you're watching this from America, why should you care about a secret arms deal between India and Israel? First, because your tax dollars fund Israel. The U.S. provides Israel with $3.8 billion per year in military aid every single year. That money subsidizes Israel's defense budget, freeing up Israeli government funds to invest in arms exports and secret manufacturing deals with India. American taxpayers are, indirectly, part of this entire chain. Second, because this changes the global arms balance. India acquiring Israeli weapons technology at this scale makes India dramatically more powerful militarily. That changes the India-China balance, the India-Pakistan balance. Ripple effects spread across Asia, and Asia's stability directly affects American economic interests. Third, because this is about accountability. When Western countries impose arms restrictions on Israel, trying to limit weapons that might be misused, the India back channel makes those restrictions largely meaningless. If components can flow through Indian factories with "Made in India" labels, Western sanctions and restrictions become much harder to enforce. The global arms trade is deliberately designed to be impossible to fully control, and the India-Israel partnership is one of the most sophisticated examples of that design in operation today. So let's bring it all home. India, the world's largest democracy, publicly calls for peace in Gaza, publicly supports a two-state solution, publicly abstains from votes condemning Israel. And privately, India runs drone factories for Israel. India ships rockets and explosives to Israel on cargo vessels that circumnavigate entire continents to avoid scrutiny. India's largest industrial conglomerate, Adani, runs a joint weapons factory with an Israeli defense company. India is Israel's single largest customer at its biggest defense company. And the deal between these two countries is worth not millions, but billions. Recurring, growing, accelerating. This is not a conspiracy theory. Every single fact in this video came from Israeli newspapers, international arms tracking organizations, Al Jazeera investigations, leaked European Parliament documents, and publicly available flight tracking data. The story was always there, hidden in plain sight, buried under official statements and diplomatic language, waiting for someone to pull it all together and show it to you clearly. That is what we do here.